With the release of the Google Pixel 10a that I reviewed a few weeks ago, I think this one-year review of the Google Pixel 9a is more significant than ever. This was an amazing value in 2025, and now you can even find it even cheaper, and it will be supported by Google until 2032. So for all of you that don't want to drop over $1,000 on a brand new phone, this might just be the perfect phone for you. Let's talk about the design and how well it's held up. Some people are going to say that this design is too boring and too subtle, but actually, I disagree. I'm a huge fan of this look. I love the matte finish of the frame, the lightweight feel in the hand coming in at only 186 grams, and the matte plastic back still feels very premium, and the basically non-existent camera module that will not wobble on a table when using it is something that I love. The only real downside of the design is when you turn on the screen and you see the bezel. Yes, if you focus on it, it's going to be larger than most phones out there, especially in 2026, but consider the price that you can find this phone for and it really becomes less of an issue. Plus, you get over it after you start using it after only a few minutes. I don't think it is as big of a deal as people make it out to be, and yes, you still get IP68 dust and water resistance too. Bottom line, the design and the build quality punches way above its around $300 price tag that you can find this for. And I wasn't really sure where to mention this, so might as well be here, but one thing that is important to note that I've personally not had an issue with is that the Pixel 9a comes with the older Exynos 5300 modem compared to the Pixel 10a's Exynos 5400. A lot of people online do not like this modem in the Pixel 9a and claim they have experienced overheating, missed phone calls, inconsistent Wi-Fi and Bluetooth connectivity, bad phone signal, and lower battery life, well, because of all of these things. So if you're concerned about this, then just go for the 10a, but I have personally not had any problem with this modem. And to continue with a great value proposition, let's talk about that beautiful display. You get a 6.3-inch OLED panel that gives you 120Hz refresh rate, but unlike its more expensive Pro brothers, it is not an LTPO OLED, meaning your screen won't go all the way down to 1 Hz, but it will instead flip between 60Hz and 120Hz depending on what you're doing with your device. To keep this in perspective though, my much more expensive Pixel 10 Pro Fold also does not have an LTPO display for the cover display, so I'm just going to leave that there. And for the brightness, you get 2700 nits of peak brightness, which is 100 nits more than the S26 Ultra, which also costs around $1,000 more. So yeah, it's a little bit of an important fact to know. Whether you're playing games or watching content, you're going to have a good experience overall. Just because you're paying $300 doesn't mean you're getting a crappy display, so don't think that you are. And even better than the display is the battery life. It continues to give me between 8 and 10 hours, sometimes a little bit more of screen on time. Are you starting to see why I love this phone so much? I normally use my phone to take phone calls, send messages to family and friends, listening to music, taking photos. I mean, it is a Pixel after all. Don't worry, we'll get to the camera soon. And playing games via mobile games and emulating whenever I can find some free time. Now, admittedly, I am on my phone quite a bit, so I could definitely see this being a 2-day phone for some people. And something to consider if you don't charge overnight is that you will get 23 watts wired charging and 7.5 watts wireless. That means it is going to take you about 2 hours to go from 0 to 100%, and that's wired. It's not a total deal breaker, but it is something to consider if you regularly like charging up your phone quickly. Now, getting to the camera, I mean, that's why a lot of us buy Pixel phones in the first place. Well, I shared a few months ago that my wide-angle camera broke out of nowhere, which, a side note, this is something to consider as well with the long-term durability of this device. So I'm not going to have any new wide-angle shots because they're all out of focus, but it's still a great camera, and I love that Google gives us a wide angle on their budget to mid-range phone. Apple. With that said, I will find some older photos I took with the wide angle to show, and the camera is absolutely incredible and way better than you'd expect for the price. For the actual hardware, you're getting a 48 megapixel main sensor, a 13 megapixel ultra wide, and a 13 megapixel selfie camera. The primary sensor is just fantastic. I can't praise it enough. It's hard to believe that you can get a camera this good for around $300. It has great dynamic range, natural colors, excellent detail. It doesn't matter if you're taking photos in bright light or indoors with bad lighting. It's reliable and consistent in pretty much any scenario. And the hardware might not be quite as good as the Pro models, but man, that Pixel software is processing magic. magic. Night photos look clean without being overly processed, and just look at how the pixel image processing transforms these what would be unusable photos into photos that I could actually share. It discovers detail that I could not see with my own eye. And the 13 megapixel front camera does a fair job in all lighting scenarios. It's not quite as good as a selfie cam on the Pro models, of course, but this also is significantly cheaper, so I'm okay with that. If you're constantly taking selfies, it might be better to save up a little bit more money and get a Pixel 9 Pro or Pro XL. Check out my review that I just did on it last week, by the way. And for the performance, let's keep this in perspective. You're getting the Tensor G4, which is the same exact chip on the newer Pixel 10a that was just recently released, and the same exact chip as the Pixel 9 Pro models. What does that mean? Well, this is essentially the same exact performance as a flagship device that costs much more than $300. Now, it's not the exact same as the Pros, since this does only come with 8 gigabytes of RAM, but if you're just a normal phone user that plays some games here and there, this is not a deal breaker. Also, I haven't had any issues with the thermals, which some of you might be concerned about. Just look at these temperatures after emulating GameCube for a little over an hour. It really does not get hot and stays fairly cool to the touch. I don't notice it getting any hotter than my S26 Ultra or my iPhone 17 Pro Max, which are both significantly more expensive than this phone. Apps open quickly, and switching between open apps is smooth and fluid. If you're totally against spending big money on a new smartphone, this is the one that you should be looking at. This is especially true when we talk about the software. When this phone came out, Google committed to supporting it with software and security support for 7 years. With 1 year into its life cycle, that is still 6 years of remaining support, so you're going to have a safe and secure phone all the way until April of 2031. For $300, I'm not sure you're going to find a better supported device on the market. I'm currently running the latest Android 16 update, and I normally run the beta software on my Pixel devices, but I wanted to have at least one Pixel device that had the non-beta and latest software out there, and it is fantastic. Sure, it's a little on the boring side if you're coming from something like a Samsung device where you can pretty much customize anything, but that's part of the Pixel charm. The focus is on the subtle details of the software, like how bouncy and lightweight it is when you interact with it in different ways, and the haptic feedback that you get as you navigate through the UI doing different things. If you've always been curious to try a Pixel phone and find out why people love them so much, well, this could also be a terrific choice for a second phone at this $300 price tag, and one that you can keep for many years to come. And trust me, my oldest Pixel devices, it's insane how fast they still are. It's a very simple software, and it's light on its feet, and it's fast and fluid. And for people who just want to do the average things on their phone, well, what else do you need? Now, getting to the security, there's one thing I love and one thing I don't like too much, but it's still not a deal breaker in my opinion. Let's start with the bad. This is an under-display fingerprint sensor. However, it's not an ultrasonic sensor like we would see on the more expensive devices. It's an optical fingerprint sensor. It's simply not as fast or reliable as what the Pro models have. Also, if you use a tempered glass screen protector, which many of you probably do, it can be a little bit tricky at times to get it to work 100% of the time. It can be a hit or miss depending on how moisturized your finger is. Luckily though, the facial recognition works great in good lighting, and it works for secured applications, which is a huge win since no other Android phone, at least here in the US, does this. If you have bad lighting though, well, good luck. It's just not going to work well, or many times it's just not going to work at all. And I know many of you like this test, so let's compare the haptic feedback between the newer Google Pixel 10a and see which one sounds and feels better. So after a full year of use, do I recommend that you go out and pick up a Google Pixel 9a today if you want a $300 value beast? Absolutely 100% yes. There is no other phone on the market that offers this value at this price point. If you think there is, let me know and I will buy it and I will review it. Hit that like button down below and subscribe for more if you like what I do, and also hit that new height feature down below as well, so this video can reach new viewers like yourselves, and I will see all of you next time.